back to the Friends of Zeus Podcast. That's the new thing. Let me get the business out the way. Please look for us on Facebook at the Friends of Zeus Podcast, on Stitcher, on Apple, on Rumble, Anchor. What am I missing? Am I missing a YouTube? Obviously.
Spotify.
And Spotify. Well, Spotify and Anchor, they're kind of the same, but yeah. Also, I just want to get it on the beginning of the show because I think most people get about 4 minutes in and stop. So I just want to mention that on May 12th, we're going to be having an event. We're going to get some of the hosts from the other shows. We're going to go out to DC for the Million Nurse March. We're going to do a lot of talking about the RaDonda Vaught case. It's going to be in preparation for the sentencing, and then on the Tuesday following the 12th, I think we'll do a reaction video. In between, I don't know. There's a lot going on. If we want to talk pop culture, we could do the Johnny Depp thing, which I think is actually kind of important in a weird way. But probably Roe versus Wade might trump that. I think that might need to be discussed as well. But anyway, we had a show last week where we talked about the war on words is what we called it. You know, definitions changing, new words with absolutely crazy definitions that are going on and how it's kind of affecting society. But it was, we just had, I personally, for myself, I had a great time with that one. I hated that we had to cut it short. So I think we all kind of agreed that we wanted to discuss it a little further and kind of get more into how it's having an effect on society. I did want to start a new segment, if you guys would allow me. I don't want to do Grinds My Gears. I don't want to do Bitchy with Mitchy, but I do want to do What Chaps My Ass. And I had an experience this week, and it infuriated me. And those of you that know me, I'm a pretty big guy, and I don't have a lot of fear of much things in the physical manner. I'm not worried about throwing down or anything like that. And I saw this thing that like really appalled me. So you ask what chaps my ass? I'm going to tell you. I'm at this school the other day. Taking Max to soccer, and there's this guy in this big, like, opulent Jeep. It's got everything, lights everywhere, it's raised, it's all that, and it's got a handicap sticker in it, right? And he didn't do anything offensive with the handicap part. Like, he was actually, what happened was there was this maintenance guy, whatever, or janitor for the school, right? And he was parked there. It's after hours, so why the fuck not, right? And this super opulent guy with just so fucking entitled starts laying into this poor guy. This guy's obviously, you know, South American or, you know, Mexico, something like that. And he is just fucking laying into this guy, threatening him, all this. And
for what?
Because he was parked in the handicap spot after hours at the school. And he's like, you got a lot of, it was just such a, what is it, Ken and Karen's? What are they?
I don't, people say Karens, but yeah.
Whatever the male portion of the Karens is, this guy was it.
Karens.
There was only one spot?
It doesn't matter. This guy was walking around. Obviously, his handicap was mental disability because he was a fucking lunatic. And he's laying into this guy that I think only understood about 1 out of the 7 words that were going on. And I'm just like, dude, he's moving the car. I'm like, leave him alone. And then he goes off on me with Max sitting right there. And I'm like, all right, I'm gonna let this one fly.
So militant handicapped people.
Yeah, that chaps your ass.
That's chaps.
Oh my! I'm still
Damn
applying
handicapped
chapstick
people,
to
man.
it now. It infuriated me, and it's kind of a testament to how society is right now. Everybody's so fucking entitled. This guy, for instance, if he's handicapped, why does he have a jacked up, on like the Raised?
Right.
Mike, and I'm busting you about your hips all the time, but it would be like if you had that, right?
It might make it easy to get out of the car.
Yeah, man. You never know
Like,
what people have, man. You never know what the guy's deal is. But
And I'll bet you that guy voted Democrat and said, "Oh, we got to help immigrants," and then he fucking tore into this poor guy.
Wait, did he get out of the Jeep? I mean, was he
He
able-bodied or
was
what?
just walking around fuming. It was like Fred Flintstone. He had steam coming out of his ears. It was infuriating.
did you record any of this? Post it on.
Oh my God, I wish I had.
Oh, okay.
So why did he need to park there so badly if he was able to? I mean, he could have
Here's
easily
my
parked
point.
in the
Here's my
next
point.
spot.
It was after fucking hours. Shut your fucking mouth. Done.
All right.
Well,
After
Yeah.
hours.
well, why did the Mexican gentleman have to park his rig in the one spot that he's not supposed to?
He probably does it all the time to because it's right next to the dumpsters and all. He was probably just like throwing. I mean, he was clearly a genteel soul. He was not an aggressive guy.
You know what?
He was
He should have
walking
just said.
away.
He should have said, "Hey, this spot, I'm doing maintenance here. The spot's out of service right now." Go
No,
find
he
a
should
different
have
spot.
done what he was doing and not be yelled at for being in a handicapped parking spot after hours when open game, open territory. I'll take the fucking spot. Come after me, motherfucker.
He should have just said no hablo inglés and ignored the guy.
No
If
hablo stupido.
Max wasn't with me, I would have kicked him in his fucking hip. No
Well,
offense.
plus, I'm surprised there weren't more spots. Like, if you go Home Depot, there's like 73 handicap spots, and then
But
you know,
it doesn't matter. Where are we in the world where people can just fucking go off on somebody in
No,
public?
I'm saying the guy that went off. He should have just parked in another spot.
He works there. He probably does it all the time. Only most.
No, I'm talking about the guy that went off.
Oh,
I'm talking
he's
about-
that
Okay.
dude. That dude's just he and like I
Well-
said, he went off on me in front of my kid, and that wasn't even the part that chapped my ass. It was how he treated this poor guy
Mm.
that's probably working for fucking $15 an hour, something ridiculous. That at the end of his day, he's just happy to be feeding his kids or just not living on the street. You know what I mean? And this guy comes along in his big badass Jeep and just shits all over him. Anyway,
Yeah. Well, yeah, but you're neglecting to mention the paraplegic kid in the back seat of the Jeep, Zeus.
I'll push him out of his fucking wheelchair.
Oh, terrible. Everybody
Possibly.
has a bad day.
Yeah, but the idea is not to spread your bad day onto other people. It's the old Colin
Yeah.
Quinn joke where the guy gets bit by the dog, or the postman gets bit by the dog, goes home, guy gets bit by the dog, goes home, slaps his wife slaps the kid kicks the dog bites the postman goes into the post office and shoots his coworkers.
All right.
It's like, let's not spread this. Let's contain it and hold some of it in. Because I got rage. I don't share it.
Except on Friends of Zeus Podcast.
I am a very nice man. So anyway, words. Who wants to start this puppy going? I'm sorry, that one just really has been biting at me for a while.
Yeah, man.
Should we take a second to introduce our special guest this week?
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead.
What do you mean by
Jeff.
special?
Special.
Like
Well,
you should, if
You drive a large
park in your
Jeep.
spot.
He's touched. He's
You were
touched.
driving that Jeep, weren't you? That's how special you were. No, Jeff Mack.
I do not yell at strangers. I'll promise that.
Oof.
Yeah.
Not unless absolutely necessary.
Yeah. It's a good policy not to do that.
It's a smart
Welcome
policy.
back, Jeff. Welcome back.
Thank you
Glad to
guys for
have you.
having me.
Oh, you know what? This might be one more tangent. So Jeff, tell us about your whoring down in Costa Rica.
Phew. Well, trying to think of what's not going to get the dancing editing person out on the screen here. I'll say it was my first time in Costa Rica. Don't know if I need to go back. My most interesting experience was the last night I was there with a female.
With a girl.
Oh yeah, and believe it or not, she was I think it's legal there. She was a lady that charged a price for a very short amount of time in my
Like
case.
Las Vegas, right?
Yeah, sure. It's much cheaper than in Nevada, though. I've been told. But yeah, we were in progress of something, and something slid out. I looked down, and she looks down and grabs it. It's a big bag of cocaine that had fallen out of a certain orifice in her body. She's like,
"Good Lord.
Oh my God, I thought I had lost this."
That brings new meaning to pack mule.
Guaranteed awesome.
I can tell you,
I was wondering where we were going to get that.
I've never been cracking up hysterically while I finished ever before, but
and you finished.
wasn't bad.
Oh boy.
Wow. Oh yeah, I already paid for it. I had to finish.
Oh, good Lord.
You paid for the Coke, or you paid for the...
Yeah, what do you think?
That's yet another reason not to do cocaine, my friends.
Yeah, you never know where it's been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sir, I'm afraid you've got chlamydia of the nose.
So I think we're about ready to start this podcast. You guys ready to start recording?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
Yeah. We may have to introduce Jeff again. Is that what you're saying? Like, don't say
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
that.
All right. Well, yeah, like Zeus was saying, we wanted to kind of continue along the lines of last week's discussion, because I think right about the time you guys were recording last week's show, Department of Homeland Security came out with their announcement that they were going to stand up a Disinformation Governance Board. So this has been kind of the hot topic this past week, and it kind of dovetails exactly with what you guys were talking about last week. And they put in charge of this board. I guess we'll start with Nina, and then we'll talk about the Ministry of Truth afterwards. But well, this is basically kind of, a lot of people are comparing it to the Ministry of Truth from George Orwell, which was based on actual the Ministry of Information from Great Britain back in the war days. And if you recall, the Ministry of Information, it was not just for publicity and news, but also designed for propaganda. So, and that's what Orwell based his Ministry of Truth on in his book, 1984. And so now we've got the Disinformation Governance Board stood up by DHS. So this is the person in charge. I want you guys to watch this. I'm going to share my screen real quick. And then we'll get, Mike, you have to turn on sharing.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
Fired.
And then we'll get your reaction from everybody. This is pretty funny. So you're about to watch Nina Jankowicz, who's appointed as the director of the Disinformation Governance Board.
Okay, I gotta ask. Oh, never mind.
Wait, can you hear that? Wait, let me do it again. I didn't click the thingamajig.
We're doing
Thingamajig.
the ASL for it.
Doing it live. Okay.
Pondering is really quite ferocious. It's when a huckster takes some lies and makes them sound precocious by saying them in Congress or a mainstream outlet. So disinformation's origins are slightly less atrocious. you hide a little lie. It's how you hide a little lie. It's how you hide a little lie. When Rudy Giuliani shared bad intel from Ukraine, or when TikTok influencers say COVID can cause pain. They're laundering disinfo and we really should take note and not support their lies with our wallet, voice or vote. Oh, information laundering is really quite ferocious. It's when a huckster takes some lies and makes them sound precocious by saying them in Congress or a mainstream outlet. So disinformation's origin seems slightly less atrocious.
All right. So that's Nina Jankowicz.
Yeah, she says you can just call me the Mary Poppins of disinformation. That's wonderful. That makes it go down a lot easier, doesn't it, Mike?
Yeah.
I don't even know where to start, man. I mean, it's like she can carry a tune. I mean, that's one good thing I gotta say. But yeah, man, I don't know.
Bad week to stop drinking.
It's like with everyone.
Seriously.
I think a good week to start.
Yeah, it's a good week to start drinking, no doubt about it.
It's like pretty much everyone this administration's been picking. I'm just like, is there no one else? Is there no one else? I mean, I don't even want this Disinformation Governance Board, but if you're gonna have one, like, I don't know.
Not her.
It's just, how are we supposed to take all that seriously? I don't. It's painful, man. It's painful.
If you
Are
look,
you fucking kidding me? This is a joke, right, Tom?
no. Look at
No,
her
it's not a
eye.
joke.
Look
She's
at
got
the
crazy
pupil
eyes.
on this side and the pupil on this side over here.
It's
Now, this
hard.
might be
Clearly had a
disinformation, but
stroke.
I think she's one of those lizard people.
So yeah, I mean, if you want to get into like her writings, she's written a couple books, and I mean, she's a hack, man. I mean,
one of the
like
books was
the
Why Mommy
definition
Takes
of a hack.
Valium. Oh my God.
Why not? What was it?
I said one of the books was Why Mommy Takes Valium. She's a fucking dude. I know, crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
She is the one, okay, after the Hunter Biden laptop story came out, she was the one that really blew all the life into the disinformation story, that there were 50, whatever. What were they, Tom?
CIA intelligence.
CIA people that said that this had all the earmarks of Russian disinformation. She's the one that sowed that story. She was the one that spearheaded that and shoved that and pushed that hard. Like she was the main one.
That's the
pushed
problem.
that.
So she fell for the disinformation. The
She also-
disinformation was that the Hunter Biden laptop was a lie.
Yeah,
That was actually in the song though.
Yeah.
Said Rudy Giuliani.
Okay, I gotta ask.
No. Let's get it straight. Okay, she didn't fall for anything. They
No.
knew it was disinformation.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah,
They knew.
she is an agent of this disinformation herself. I mean, she pushed the dossier
well, either
as
way,
true. So
yeah, either way, you got no business being in charge of a Disinformation Governance Board if you're either falling for it or you're peddling it, one or the
She
other.
earned the job, didn't she? By winning the election, basically.
Yeah, she did.
yeah, I mean, and again, this is we were talking about this on the text thread, but the thing that drives me nuts is people, even us talking about whether she should be the one to lead it. Like the whole existence of the entity itself is a abomination. It's like,
Yeah.
they get
And,
everyone talking about whether she's the one that should be running it or not. It's like, it shouldn't even exist.
Oh,
Exactly.
wait, now I gotta ask because, and I'm usually the one that comes into this, the least educated on these things of everyone. It's really called the Ministry of Disinformation, or what's it actually
The
called?
Disinformation Governance Board. It's a part of Homeland Security.
People are
Thank you,
equating it
Patriot Act.
to the Ministry of Truth from George Orwell's 1984. It's
If
not
people
called
are
the Ministry of
comfortable
Truth.
with a title like Ministry of Truth, honestly, then if disinformation is in the title, I'm sorry, I've got expectations.
It's the granddaughter of the Patriot Act, Zeus. The Patriot Act begot Homeland Security. Homeland Security begot this.
Right.
Fucking ridiculous.
Yeah,
Boy.
I don't know. But
Yeah,
and
no,
then-
I'm
ahead,
sorry,
Jack.
Tom. No. I'm just saying, a few weeks ago, we did this whole podcast about the gentleman named Elon Musk.
Mhm.
Love that guy.
And I don't think you can really lose sight of the timing of this bullshit. the guy basically has gone out of his way to basically say that the left has gone too far left. The censorship has to stop at the very least, and I'm going to stop the censorship of one side as it currently stands. And all of a sudden, they object to billionaires running social media when they've been doing it at their behest the whole time.
Yeah.
They got a rogue agent in Elon Musk who had the money and the wherewithal, and now we have to have this disinformation board. And they're already couching this as, oh, they're not there to censor people.
Right.
No.
Watch what happens when Musk starts allowing conservatives back onto Twitter. I mean, just it's going to be a shit show.
I mean,
it's like Jordan Peterson says. Jordan Peterson said
I know
the whole and I'm not gonna I don't want to get into like the whole cisgender and all that stuff, but he made a very good point that he understands when people say you can't say that. His problem is when people say you must say that.
Right.
It's not. I mean, it's a distinct.
Yeah, we covered that. We covered that last week. I mean, that's basically. But this goes back to you can't say that because they're flat out going to take people off fucking Twitter.
Yeah, but I'll bet that it's going to come back around to you must say this.
Yeah,
I really. Because
it's
that's
worse.
where you change language. Can't means you can avoid.
Yeah,
Must.
but if you start
and not
yeah,
avoid.
but no, it's just as bad, Zeus, because if you suddenly eliminate everybody under the guise of, oh, you can't say that, it's misinformation, it's blatant censorship. It's what was going on during COVID. It's what was going on during the election. How many posts did you make on your social media that got taken down or had a label thrown on it? I know I did.
Not me.
I mean, it's worse than that. The Homeland Security is a law enforcement arm of the federal government. So they could have put this in a variety of different departments or, under different leadership, but they picked Homeland Security. So this is a group. And again, it's the camel's nose, right? It always starts off something like this. But you could have armed officers that are part of this group moving forward. And I mean, that would be the logical place where it goes. I mean, if you guys remember during the Obama years, HHS was the single largest purchaser of ammunition in this country for years, like year after year after year. They were stockpiling ammunition and everyone's just like, whatever.
I've got an interesting response to that, actually. So this is part of changing definitions. So big thing with Homeland Security is like terrorism. Everything is terrorism now.
Yeah, get ready for that too.
Yeah.
Well, so it's already going on. Here's a very interesting thing. And I work, a lot of my CNN, like my techs where I work, are, it tends to be the techs, and I'm not saying all techs are this, but it tends to be that a lot of them are minorities.
Mm-hmm.
And I love them all. They're my favorite people, actually, over even some nurses. But one of my techs one time, her mother-in-law got sent back to, I think, El Salvador. Now, here's the interesting thing about definitions now. So terrorism is now defined as, and I'm mincing it a little bit, but essentially if you have a group of people of like mind or even like, ethnic background, they can RICO act it. Now it falls under RICO and it falls under terrorism. So that's why when you drive by like a 7-Eleven or by Home Depot, you'll see people standing in groups of 4 because there's a certain number where it becomes dangerous or it falls under that category.
I never heard that.
Yeah. So like if it's a group of more than 4. So, but watch now that I've told you this, watch when you go by one of these places where people tend to congregate like that.
Well, generally they're day labor people. I
Right.
mean, at least at
It
7-Elevens.
doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The point is they want any in to deport people that they can, or to bully, whatever you
I don't
want to
think
call it.
so.
I call it
I don't
bullying.
think they're even enforcing it.
Yeah, I mean,
don't
they just
either, Tom.
like 1.5
Nobody's
million.
No,
enforcing
but the
just
reason
came
why
in.
you don't think they're enforcing it is because they know the rules. The immigrants, whoever, they know the rules. They know that if so many people, I'm telling you, look, and you'll see that. I don't know what the number
I
is,
don't
but
know.
you're going to see small groups, and they have to be within a certain area, a certain small portion of place. That's why you'll see 4 or 5 guys standing over here to the left of the door, 4 or 5 guys standing over here, and then 4 or 5 guys on the corner. It's not because that makes it easier for them to get that job, because quite frankly, they're going to pull up in front of the store
I
and
mean,
all the people on the
Virginia,
corner.
no, Zeus, Virginia's a sanctuary state. And you could have 20 people standing there waiting for day jobs.
Rico ain't state though. Rico's federal.
And, well, yeah, but
Even
Zeus,
worse, Zeus.
you're
They're
assuming
not going to
that
do anything.
you're assuming the same Department of Homeland Security that's been running the immigration policy and the border that we did a whole podcast on, or 2. We're gonna
Yeah.
have 2. We're gonna have 2 million more people flooding the border and coming into this country with permission, basically. I think that the Department of Homeland Security is changing its scope from the border, which it's not doing anything about, to American citizens, and that's what this
Absolutely.
is pointing to.
That's all good and fine, but it's still an unjust way to act.
Okay.
Yeah.
These
Well-
people are just trying to get a
Yeah,
living.
but the Department of Homeland Security is their job has to do with foreign agents. That's what it's basically set up to do. And now we have a Disinformation Governance Board right in time for the 2022 election, the midterms, and we saw how that went in 2020, right?
Well, yeah, I mean,
Well,
here's the thing. It's blatantly unconstitutional, but it's not going to get challenged under this State Department. I mean this
Administration.
Justice Department.
And I don't want to get too far into that, but what I'm saying is the definition of what a terrorist is very.
It's very
Well, we know that.
it's
Fluid.
gonna be
You could show up at the school board meetings and they'll
Malignant.
label you as a terrorist, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Domestic terrorist at school board meetings.
And
Yeah.
what
Exactly.
all I'm saying is that there is the definition. My friend that I work with, her mother-in-law was sent home because something along those lines, another stupid rule. But the fact is, and I get what you're saying, Jack, that we're going to be overrun, but I'm not, everybody says this whole thing about they're taking our jobs. No, they're taking the jobs that nobody.
Yeah, no, immigration's a whole different podcast.
Right. But my point is they changed the definition, and they're not calling these people terrorists. They're simply using the rules that they use for terrorists to
No,
do
they're
what they
not.
want.
Not
basically.
this administration. They're not targeting the
No, it's.
immigrants,
I think it's
Zeus.
probably. But the point is they can pull that
They-
definition back anytime they want.
They do want to label more people as terrorists,
Well,
but it's not the immigrants.
and we were talking about this last week. It's when you take a word, call it terrorism, whatever, and you define it, and then you create a system of punishment and corrective action to take care of it. And that gets settled, and everyone's like, yeah, okay, I can get with that. No one wants terrorists or whatever. And then the term terrorism, the definition starts
It gets watered down.
to drift and starts to move.
No.
But
This
the
is a lot
penalty
scarier.
stays the same.
This is scarier than even a word, because this disinformation board is an idea.
Yeah.
You can literally have a thought in your head and express it, and they say that's terrorism. That's not how we want people to think.
It doesn't even have
That's
to
way
be.
more dangerous than saying, hey, you use that word, that's terrorism.
Listen, how about if Homeland Security realizes the tens of people that we reach out to,
Right.
and
we're done.
they
We're growing.
realize that we're going against the system, and those tens of people, they
Well-
know that they could be volatile to the system. They're going to shut us down, and they're going to kill us. We're going
If
to be in a
you-
So what
concentration
it does,
camp.
Zeus, no, seriously though, when you label somebody a terrorist, what it allows the government to do is then start, recording their phone calls, going after going into their emails and all that sort of stuff. So they can do that with anybody if you're like a political opponent of the current administration, they can find a way to label you as a terrorist, and then they can kind of go after you that way.
It's really frightening.
Did you guys see this news about what's going on in Ukraine with the arrests of Ukrainians who were disloyal to Ukraine during the beginning of the war and like posting things on social media? So Zelensky's government has troops, soldiers going to people's houses who posted things on social media that were either pro-Putin or not anti-Putin enough or what have you. And these people are getting arrested and they're getting put in jail, and the term is 15 years. There's videos you can see. They're showing up people's houses, taking them out, and I think they've already arrested something like 400 or 500 people just in the last week. So whatever, not to get into Ukraine, but I'm saying, again, all this has happened before. This is where things go. It's power. It's a power play.
I mean, I'd give them a bit of a pass, being that it's a wartime situation.
I got you.
Literally at stake.
But I'm saying you're talking about someone that's like Joe Citizen who posts something on social media.
Right.
I'm just saying. I mean, and again, not to get into the Ukraine thing, but I'm saying that is where this stuff leads. I mean, in Australia, during the whole lockdown thing, if people who were posting on Facebook that they were against the lockdowns were getting visits by the police.
Yes,
in England, you can get prosecuted for speech on social media. So, again, that's where it's going. I mean, make no mistake, and it is to have people self-censor. That's what it's all about. It's all about control. And again, this is nothing new. It's just there's different methods of it now. It's actually a lot more efficient, than it used to be, right. What they're doing. I mean, but it's not, there's no mystery about what's going on. And what we're seeing now is a really brazen, in my view, power play, because I do believe that the majority of people are against this sort of thing, except the people that are for it and the people who are pushing it control all of the means of communication, through the schools, through the media, through the entertainment, through government, all that stuff, the bureaucracy. So they're punching above their weight. They seem to be more numerous than they actually are. That's my belief. And they're really doing a lot of really weird, desperate things now. It's kind of shocking. I mean, I knew it was going to happen. I am so surprised how fast it's happening.
They'll say it's all in the name of saving our democracy, which
is the new, isn't that the most crazy expression? Really? I mean, it's like,
ironic.
And all these people that are like, oh man, we need to destroy the filibuster in the Senate because we need to save democracy. I'm like, you guys don't even know what the Senate's about. I mean, all these people with the Roe v. Wade thing, and not that we have to get into that, but these people haven't read the opinion. They don't even know about Roe v. Wade. They have no understanding of federalism. They have no idea what's going on. It's just outcome based. Here's the outcome I want. The system be damned. And the system is what keeps us all, that's the threads that hold our society together. And you've got this certain element in our society that's just like, process be damned. I just want to get to the end result I want. And in the meantime, it's just destroying all of these institutions. And it's on purpose. It's not an accident, and it's not stopping. And there's no reasoning with it.
Jack had made a good point. The timing of it, like right after the Twitter purchase, it could not be. It's not a coincidence.
And they're saying it's been around for about 2 months. But yeah, publicizing
the proposal to make that purchase has probably been around for about 2 months. So
as well, yeah, that's true.
Well, and the midterms are coming up.
I'm telling you, not the midterms. I'm telling you, I am, and again, we're right most of the time on this podcast. So I'll just put my
we're brilliant.
I'll put my little stone down now. Was it May 3rd? I am really concerned about this election coming up, man, because if there's anything that I've learned, it's that there is an element in this country that is not going to take being you're losing. They're just not going to take it. I mean, everything that any election they lose is illegitimate. And if this goes the way that early polling is showing it will, I think we're going to have civil unrest, back, like make summer of 2020 look like a cookie sale, to be honest with you. Potentially.
Right.
But I have that feeling because they're getting so desperate now. And the stuff that's coming out of their mouths, the rhetoric of, again, it's like, if you don't support us, you're a Nazi and everyone's racist and it's the end of democracy. I mean, you have people in the media that are like, if we don't win this election, meaning the Democrat Party, that the country is over. I mean, it's just, people have said that here and there on like every election. But this is like, Sunday, or evening news is saying that now. It's like ridiculous.
Well, I mean, I felt that about the 2020 election.
Yeah.
And now look at this. This is
we're seeing
this
it.
Is what I was afraid of.
Exactly.
And it's happening. Now, what they're afraid of, I don't know. I mean, it's
like you're talking about all these and when I say institutions, I mean like the Senate, which is not supposed to be a representative body. It's supposed to be, appointed by state legislatures. The House is a representative body. You have the Supreme Court, who they want to like stack and destroy that institution. Again, the whole thing taking this statues down, the 1619 Project, trying to redefine what the founding of the country was about. I mean, all of this is, America's horrible, tear it down, destroy the process, get rid of the filibuster. And it has an effect. It is not without consequence. I mean, people who, the way that the media, these people that call themselves journalists and haven't done their job, and people like me, like I basically, anything that the mainstream media says, I just go with whatever is opposite, and I'm right most of the time. And to have that level of distrust in the media is dangerous, because the media needs to be trustworthy, because there's certain times that we all need to kind of like row in the same direction. Right. We're not rowing in the same direction right now at all, far from it. And that is very dangerous and provocative to, especially to other countries.
The problem with what you said and what's so frightening is that America sucks is coming from America now.
Well, from people that
not
are
us,
here.
not us,
yeah.
Not us. But I'm saying that you can find people that will openly say how bad it is here. And yet people are swarming to get here.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, it's so racist here that people from other countries that are black and brown are dying to get in.
Yeah.
It's appalling.
I'm saying it has real consequences. This isn't just like in Zeus. Sometimes when we've talked and you're like, this side, the pendulum comes back around. We're getting into territory that the pendulum doesn't necessarily, or the pendulum does come around and stuff gets really sideways, like really fast, Yeah. This whole thing with the Disinformation Governance Board, to me, it doesn't exist. Like whatever they say or do or whatever, like I'm not complying with that. That has no effect on me. Like I know what my rights are. They can go pound sand. And there's a lot of people out there that
rights anymore.
That feel that way. What?
Until they're not your rights anymore.
Well, that's what I'm saying. There's a clear line there, right? I mean, and certain people aren't going to just be like, oh, okay, whatever. And that number of people is pretty enormous. It's not a small group of people.
I mean, quite frankly, we're talking definitions and words. I don't think Republican is Republican anymore. I don't think Democrat is Democrat anymore. I think those have whole new definitions. I think democracy has a whole new definition.
We're not a democracy. It's the entrenched bureaucracy versus everyone else. That's what it is. It's the globalists, the entrenched bureaucracy versus people that actually believe in the ideals this country was founded on. That's the dichotomy. It's not Republican, Democrat. There's a million. Mitch McConnell is a fucking train wreck, dude. I mean, that guy is. I mean, he is not a pro-America guy. He's not, and he's the head of the Senate. for the
We're in a weird
Republicans.
place where I've said it before, where I wouldn't mind having Mitt Romney in there. And I would prefer to vote with a I wouldn't.
Dude, he's a
It's gotta be
disaster,
better than
dude.
the shit we got going
No,
on.
no, it's not.
No,
He's not
he's a
better.
rhino.
He's worse because he lies. At least with
Same.
AOC, like I've always said, whatever you say about AOC, at least she has integrity. She says what she's very forward with what she says. She doesn't try to hide it. Mitt Romney is a sneaky little bastard. He does not say what he believes. He obfuscates, he hides it, he misdirects.
So you're
He's
saying that he wouldn't be better than Biden right now?
I don't think
Yeah.
so, because at least Biden is so bad people see it. Romney would have the patina of respectability, and
Fair
people and what you're an example of, Zeus, is people would be like, oh yeah, he's fantastic, and he's a
I'm
freaking
not.
train
No,
wreck.
listen, I preface that with we're in a weird place where he might be. I didn't say might. I was a little more firm with it.
I'd rather have Biden because at least it's in the open, like everyone can see it.
Fair enough, but again,
Right,
but don't tell me that he wouldn't be someone that people would consider right now, just because at least. And here's my thing with him: at least he acts more presidential. He seems
Yeah,
to
but
have.
we gotta
Yeah,
throw that away.
Yeah,
Look
the
at
whole
Trump.
acting presidential
look at-
thing.
Look at Trump. Trump did not act presidential, and we had a pretty good 3 years up until the China virus.
Dude,
Well,
we went through the whole
Let's
Wall
not call it the
Street.
China virus. We're gonna have to edit that.
We went. Hell no. We went through the whole, Wall Street economic meltdown in 2008. And like one dude, low-level guy at Goldman Sachs went to jail. People need to be in jail, man. Well, there's no consequence. We need a president that can, and a Congress, to be honest with you, and a population that demands some accountability and consequence, because we
I
are
agree.
so far off the reservation right now. We are in dangerous waters, man. I can't stress that enough. I mean,
So, if I may, I want to get back to words, and I had a little exercise I wanted to try with everybody. I talked to Mike about this, and I think Mike agreed that it's at least interesting for us to try, because all these words are changing, and I feel like if that's going to happen, we have to change other definitions to kind of compensate. So I was going to say, what's a word that with our current, social situation in the United States right now, that you think should be changed to apply to the change? In other words, I'll start with mine. I was talking to Mike about it, and I think we got to change the term victim, because I think that everybody's a victim. And when I think of victimization, I think of harsh, unpleasant, rage, anger-filled kind of situations. A victim is somebody that was beaten in the streets, or shot for the color of their skin, or
someone who takes a measurable loss of some kind.
exactly, and
Not feelings.
and with no precipitating situation that would cause them to deserve that. However, for me right now, victim is freaking everybody. I think victim is more in line with entitled than it is with what the actual word should mean. So I think we got to change that, kind of like we changed the meaning of vaccine. So
Right.
that's my word. I'm wondering if you guys have any words. And this is a a touchy place, so we got to be, so we don't have to edit. Do you guys have any words that you think should be changed to fit society, to kind of even the whole disinformation, since we were talking about that?
Yeah, I mean, education, right? Education is now used to describe indoctrination.
Fair enough. Elaborate on that, please.
Well, I'm just Well, I'm just saying, again, being taught how to think as opposed to being taught what to think. I mean, look, our colleges right now as a nation are in real trouble, man. I mean, they are not places that you go to have vigorous discussion and back and forth and have your ideas challenged or anything like that. It's a place you go to fall in line and to learn to speak the speak and walk the walk. There's this cartoon, it's an old cartoon of, I may have mentioned this on the previous episode, but I love this cartoon. This guy, he's like a tree, and he's taken his son in to school, and his son's like a little tree, and he's like at the classroom door, and the teacher is an axe, and all the pupils in the chairs are logs, and he's like, okay, go on, he's like ushering them into the room, and there's a lot of truth to that. But anyway, wow. I'm saying colleges, even when we went, or people our age went, it was already kind of heading that way. But at least, I mean, I remember really vigorous back and forth and stuff like that. And I don't remember people like harassing people for views or anything like that. I mean, I had friends from all over the spectrum of thoughts about not just politics, like all over the place. There was a time you could talk about it and a time you wouldn't. Now it's like, that is not the culture now. I mean, I don't know if you guys ever talk to anyone that's in college right now, like kids that are that age. It's insane what these kids are having to put up with, man. It's crazy. There's also a lot of quote unquote social learning that goes on way before college now, Mike. Oh yeah, it's the social, or was it the social emotional learning and
right. And some of that is all well and good because kids have to learn how to cope with their mind and with their emotions. And like that's important. It's really part of health. I mean, I think.
But here's the problem with that.
But they're going to school for math and for science and for reading and writing, and I'm sure that's still the bulk of it. I mean, just having worked as a substitute teacher this year, you had your different subjects, but the actual Department of Education and the NEA. They're adding a lot of social. I mean, we know what's going on in Florida. That's a whole nother podcast. Where basically they voted in a new act that said that sex education couldn't really be taught kindergarten through third grade. Like that really needed to be said. Like, why did that even need to be said? Because something was going on. Yeah. And parents were getting wind of it. So education is a real. It kind of harkens back to I think of the song by Pink Floyd and on the Pink Floyd The Wall album. I think there's a lot of resentment that's bubbling up again as far as like what the kids are bringing home for homework. And there's rampant examples of that all over the country. I mean, like there's stuff in math now that has no place in math. Yeah, it's social commentary. And if you're against it, then you're like, they couch it as, I mean, that just happened where they canceled contracts for like 43 different math texts that had all of this nonsense in it. And then like the media spin was like, DeSantis is against math. Right. he's against teaching math. Right. Whatever. It's crazy. But yeah, I mean,
Jeff.
Yeah.
Did you have one?
Well, kind of a nice segue as far as words that no longer mean the same thing. Science. Yeah. Science doesn't mean anything. Science means you don't agree with what the people in charge tell you to believe or to think. There's no mathematical, no actual scientific reasoning behind it. It's just, what talking head over here says. That's what we declare. The Ministry of Truth has declared this science. We don't. And I did get a kick before I came on here. There's a big push from the liberals who accuse Joe Rogan of taking horse pills to teach women about abortion pills they can take, where they actually do get horse medication as part of the pill to make an off-market abortion pill. So
see that horse pill comes in handy for a lot of different situations, I guess.
Well,
especially if you're in Costa Rica.
Yeah.
You have to get rid of the Costa Rican dick mumps.
But I will say, Jeff, that is a really great one, because again, it's like the whole concept of, it's the science, right? The science. And the whole point of the scientific method is you're constantly challenging theories. That's science, right? Science isn't like we all got in a room, decided this, and like if you disagree, then zip, 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 we're gonna kick you off Twitter and you can't say anything. That's anti-science.
How far would science go if they just went, well, nothing happened?
Yeah.
Well, the sun revolves around the earth. We know that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's settled. I mean, all these settled things. Yeah, that's a great one.
I was going to say, my word, I guess, would be news. Because when you think of news, or at least historically, you would think of like reporting and facts, but that's not what the news is anymore. It's all like editorial now. It's all opinions.
Yeah.
There's very little actual news. And if you do get some news, it's usually interlaced with a bunch of opinions.
Yeah.
So,
And this is not an accident either. The journalism schools, which are, again, being run by people who believe in and partake in this Marxist ideology of like separation of people, divide and conquer. They are teaching this thing. If you guys want to look into it, the new journalism, where the idea of presenting facts and things without commentary is frowned upon, because everyone's a social justice warrior now, and you're supposed to advocate for positions, right? This is what's being taught in journalism school. So we have journalists that are coming out, quote unquote, that's what they're called, and this is what they believe, and this is why you're seeing that. It's opinion.
You know why?
It's narrative driven.
It makes it easier for them. They don't have to think. They just go with the flow, attack the weaker of the two in this situation, and just overrun them with whatever it is. It's like milk and toilet paper when there's a blizzard on steroids. It's like the media knows now that all they got to do is say that there's a fucking tidal wave coming our way, and you got to go along, or you're going to cost other people their lives. Now, this is extreme, but it's just this. There's integrity is lost. I mean, literally. I mean, you got Cuomo, for instance. His brother, who's the governor of New York, just fucking. He was called out completely. Did some stuff wrong. We don't have to get into that. And what does Cuomo do? He just disappears. He's no longer on the news. You want to go back to the 70s, 80s, maybe even the 90s. He would have had his brother on, and even if he soft-sold it or whatever, he would have had his brother on. That would have been a story that he would have done something with it. No, this time he just disappears. He gives Don Lemon a kiss and walks off. Well, good one, Tom.
The thing, like what Mike was saying, the problem with this indoctrination, and we talked about it in the Bezmenov episode.
Yes.
The indoctrination that's happening in the schools is that the problem is it's being successful. It's working. There, all these activist lawyers that are coming up out of these colleges, the activist journalists that are coming out, all of these young activists that are going into the tech jobs and disrupting and changing the environments there. It's working for them.
And Bezmenov's point too was like, you can't just turn this around. And I mean, this is a multiple generational shift. This is not a quick turn.
That dude was fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
I mean, this didn't just start. I was a journalism major 14, 15 years ago. I changed majors because I remember sitting in class and arguing with the teacher, you don't have to report the truth. You have to report what's best for the people. And I'm like, that's not journalism.
Wow.
I dropped journalism as a major right after that argument.
Right.
Yeah.
See, but that's the effect, though. They chase away the good, who would have been the good journalist, and you get kind of run out of there, and they're just left with all the activists.
Here's the thing, and I forgot it. I hope I can remember it, but it doesn't really matter about a specific story. But I was reading this story, and it was some like really sad, tragic story, and that happened. And the way it was written, like when I was reading it, because I read this stuff critically.
It's a story that happened.
No, but what I was saying is, it actually happened. But the way it was written, they weren't just reporting like the facts of what happened. It had this kind of melodramatic undertone to it, and I was like, just tell me what the facts are and allow me to form an opinion on it. But we're so far away from that. And if you read news, they don't ever do that anymore. And it's really a disservice, because journalism is a noble profession when done correctly. There's some people still out there, but they're very few, because you go out and you find out the facts, right? So like take the Supreme Court leak situation right now, just because it's current. Was it a clerk? Was it a justice? How did it happen? What the machination? Was it an accident? How's it work? Like, how could this happen? Did someone just walk out with it? A reporter that would go in and be like, okay, here's the situation. Here's how it works. Here's who has access to it. Here's all the possible ways it could have happened. Here's all the people that, could have done it, whatever. And then just leave it up to you to decide. That would be a fantastic service. But no, we don't have that. We have all of this hyperbolic, insane, crazy stuff that people in the media are saying, talking about ending the filibuster. Everything's the end of democracy, and it's just such a disservice. And if I was someone that was a journalist, in all seriousness, I would be embarrassed, man. And I really, to me, anyone that doesn't feel they're that way, that aren't calling out the vast majority of people in that industry right now who are that way, they're a part of the problem too. I mean, it's like having firemen that are running around setting fires. That's basically that's an equivalency, and that's really what it is.
Those wildfires in California, they caught like the one fireman that was setting fires.
Setting fires.
There, when you think about something, when you think about any issue,
person,
fire.
Oh yeah,
Firefighter.
Can't say fireman. You must say
fire
person.
Extinguisher. Here's the problem. Yeah. So going back to my teenage years, and we'll just think about
this is like back when cars were invented and stuff.
Yes.
Model T's running around, horses.
Years before you were. Edit that. Look at the time. I said something offensive. There used to be you didn't hear it. Jack heard it. With anything in your life, like in your teenage years, it was like tumultuous, like everything you thought about, it was like, if this, if that, when this, when that. And now it's almost promoted that you find the path of least resistance. You don't have to think about things anymore. You go with the flow of your tribe, and then everything's easier, And I mean, for me at least, I'm constantly in a state of flux of where my beliefs are, and they're they're complex. Lately, I will say that I would say that in today's current, I'm not going to say the word, but our current system of balance as far as beliefs and all that I do lean more right, but I'm not sure I lean more right. I think that the left has just gone really far to the left. I don't think that I'm any different in how I feel about things. I just feel like I'm gonna not take the path of least resistance. I'm gonna still hold on to that tumultuous thought process, because that's where the fruit of real thought comes from, is when you sit and you really noodle out how you feel about things, instead of just going, well, I agree with this, so I'm just going to go find a bunch of other people that think this way. And if you really stop and you do that, and then you look at all those people that think the same as you, you're sometimes going to find out that they're idiots. And maybe you might even reflect back that you're an idiot for thinking that way. And that is a good thing. When you can like reflect back on it upon yourself and go, yeah, I don't know if that's the guy that I want on my team. I don't want to join that club. Right. You know what I mean? I'm sorry, I kind of went off on a tangent.
No.
Jack, did you get a word in?
I don't really have any particular word that's going on right now, except maybe some of the stuff we covered last week. Like I didn't necessarily sign on from becoming a heterosexual male to a cisgender. I don't even know what that is. It sounds made up.
I can answer that. Cisgender means that
Binary.
you are a straight person, but you sympathize with all the different genders.
I don't know.
I think that's.
It means that
I don't think you know what this word means.
It's the opposite of
That's
trans.
exactly what it means. It means that
cis is the opposite of
straight, but you sympathize with the masses.
You don't have to sympathize to be cis.
No?
No. The reason why they're defining it is, the reason the word cisgender and all that came out was, when you have something, they didn't like the fact that if you're straight, that's quote unquote normal. And then if you are not that, that's unusual. So instead of that, they just made normal its own little category. So now they can be in a category too, because that's what they're all about, is putting people into categories.
All right, so I get my own letter.
You get your own letter kind of thing.
I'd like you to define what a woman is, Mike.
I know. I mean, exactly. It's an adult female human being. Yeah. It's pretty easy.
Someone with like cocaine in one of their body parts.
That's it. Mandatory.
Yeah, because a man can't fit there. Fit that up.
I mean, here another thing with like journalism. I mean, or news, like what Tom was saying. Another recent story. This whole like fake news story about how the Border Patrol agents on the horses were whipping Haitian migrants down on the border,
we covered that.
which it never happened. They weren't doing it. And our president was like, they're gonna pay, da 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 da. Well, guess what? They went through this whole thing, and those guys were found completely, in the right. There was no whipping, blah blah blah. The news has not covered it. They haven't covered that at all.
It's
so
the activism.
They were wall to wall.
Journalist.
They were wall to wall on it for a week, and calling these people all these names, even up to the President of the United States. And then after the fact finding, they admitted it was all bullshit, and like nothing. The media, if they were actual journalists, they would go back and be like, the story we reported. And I'm old enough to remember this. They used to do this on TV. They're supposed to still do it in newspaper. Story we reported last week, da da da, blah blah blah, was factually wrong or whatever. They would like correct it. They just ignore it. Again, it's the power not to cover things that is the most insidious. To not shine light on things.
I feel like a lot of this started with, obviously the milk and bread analogy cannot be escaped, but I think another thing that the news started doing that was infuriating for a long time, and I think it fueled or it sparked the mindset of how can we manipulate the public, was the whole, there's something in your house that could kill your children. Oh, yeah. We'll tell you about it at 11. Mm-hmm.
Well, there is a business
like,
side.
What's going to kill my children? And I think that like it was like a big social experiment. That, and again, the milk and toilet paper, man, we will fucking fight somebody over some milk and toilet paper.
Well, like I said, it works, man. That's why do you think these big companies own these media companies? Why do you think AT&T owns, what do they own?
Because
CNN.
fear is a phenomenal
Comcast owns
motivator.
NBC. Disney, owns everything. Bezos owns the Washington Post. Why do you think these big money corporations? Because it works, man. Because if you have a big enough megaphone, you can get, look, human beings, we can be like cattle. You have the megaphone over here, like, there is no Hunter Biden story. It's all fake. It's Russian disinformation. Okay. And we all go this way, and then when it comes out as being untrue later on, whatever, we're already 50 acres away on a different meadow grazing, man. We don't even remember that stuff. And they know it works. That's why these people spend all the money. That's why advertising works. Because it works.
It's like
it's not a mystery.
It's like screaming fire in a theater, only the theater is the world.
Exactly.
Well, it only needed to work from the time it came out in October until election
Correct.
day.
Exactly.
It only
Back
needed
the
to last
dog.
that long.
And I got news for you, man. Have you guys noticed how few people are wearing masks now, but we're not hearing about the numbers going up anymore? They're on to something
Are the
new.
numbers
I
going
can't
up?
wait. I
I
can't
haven't
wait to
checked.
see what the new thing is.
I think the numbers, I think they are, some are going up. But again, look, I could give 0 fucks about how many cases there are. I want to know deaths and hospitalizations, period. I don't care about any of the other. No one cares
And
about
really
any of
just
that.
deaths. Really just deaths.
Well, hospitalizations are
Even
very
those
disruptive.
numbers are sketchy, though.
Yeah, even those are
we've talked
sketchy.
about it before.
But like this whole
Said it
case,
before, George Floyd was put down as, and it's a fact, it's not arguable, George Floyd was put down as COVID.
wow, that's frightening.
Yeah.
We all saw that one.
Oh my God, look at that big girl. I held her when she was a baby.
Yep. You dropped her,
So-
didn't you?
I did
One
drop
thing-
her.
And one thing, Zeus, and you and I have kind of talked about this, and I just want to say this just for some clarification, because there's one thing that you said that was burning my biscuits a little bit, and that is
Stepping your
that
ass.
that
There
this
you
stuff
go.
is complicated, and it's not complicated. People try to make this seem like it's complicated. Here's the thing, and when people say, what do you believe, or what do you don't believe, or Democrat, Republican, whatever,
Republicrat.
it's like, do you believe in the rule of law, that people are governed, that in this country, let's just talk about this country, are governed by laws and not the rule of man? In other words, we're subject to rules that are written by our representatives that we choose to live here and live under, and not the dictates of a tyrant. Okay, equal protection under the law, all people, birthing persons, everyone's created equal. Federalism.
Sounds great.
Separation of powers, right? So the power can't be concentrated. The fact that when we're born, our rights come from our creator, or whoever you believe in, or that you're born with the rights, they're not given to you by the government. Individual property rights, the Bill of Rights in general. That's what I believe. It's very uncomplicated. It's all written down. You can go look at it. It's not complicated
Yes,
at
but we
all.
make it-
They try to
but
make
we-
it seem complicated. That's
Well,
what I believe.
I'm
Yes.
not making it complicated. What I'm saying is that
I wasn't saying you were. I'm saying people
Well,
try to
they-
make it complicated. Like,
I
oh man,
understand
it's
that.
so
I understand
nebulous. I can't figure it out. It's like, no, it's very
I
simple.
agree with that, but it is complicated not because the core values are complicated. I agree with that. What makes it complicated is, again, and I know I use it all the time, but that whole pay no attention, the man behind the curtain thing that's constantly going on, where if we pay attention to something, they point us in another direction. That's what makes it complicated. And then you have lazy people that don't want to think about how things really are. They just want to fit into a group, a tribe that
You gotta watch that
agrees-
word, man.
Don't
What?
say that.
You gotta watch that word.
I'm
That's
not
one of the-
saying it. I'm not saying it from a racial standpoint. I'm saying
I
it
know that. I know.
the
No,
way
you're
I know. But
appropriated.
for clarification, for anybody, for the tens of
It's-
people that are listening,
Yeah, I
that-
don't like that. That's not appropriation. I mean,
It's
No,
not.
I think Mike
Oh.
explained it last week, but go
Yeah.
ahead.
yeah, but just for
We were
clarification,
being, I think,
when I say tribe, I'm just
just
saying. a
joking.
group of
I'm just
people.
Oh,
I
you
know
don't
you. I know
even-
you're joking, but
Yeah.
I'm upset that other people were complaining about that word. It's not.
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah, you
when
don't
I
need to
say
explain
tribe,
that.
I'm just saying group of like-minded.
Obviously.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying it for the purpose of saying it. Shit. I know I'm all
I'm sorry, man.
fucking fuck. You fuck. You're fired. What was I saying?
Something
Man.
about tribe.
We were talking about people who just get caught in their own tribes and they have their own way of
Well,
thinking.
and it's so much easier to just go along. You find your group that says the same
Yeah, a
thing
lot
that
of-
you do.
Right.
And me, man, I love the part of this show. The thing I love is I don't agree with Mike. I don't agree with you, Jack, sometimes. Tom and I were probably closer, but even he and I don't agree sometimes. I like that, like, static, like, keep thought going, because when we stop, it's just going to go in one direction. And that's what I'm scared of, is that one side is just going to say, I fuck it. You know what? You win. I give up.
Yeah, that's
Whatever
not going to
you
happen.
want, just mow over me, and it's like cutting the grass. It's like now we're all even. There's not that one that's sticking up. We're just going to do what everybody else says so we can feel good and we can feel liked.
Well, that goes back to what you guys were saying about the news. That's why the news is couched the way it is, because they're trying to get everybody into one way of thinking. And they're omitting a lot.
Like the whole thing getting, like using
I gotta
the
make
riots at the Capitol on January 6th.
Right.
The big story out of that.
Insurrection.
The big story out of that no one ever talks about is why in the hell did hundreds of thousands of people feel that they got jobbed on that election, rightly or wrongly? I don't care if you think it's BS. I don't care if you're totally thinking that every vote was tampered with, whatever you thought. I'm saying the fact that hundreds of thousands of people traveled to Washington, D.C., and some went to the Capitol and blah, 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 blah. That's a problem. Like, how did that happen? Because that didn't happen before. And we've had contentious
it
elections.
happened in 2016.
It happened in 2000. No, that's true. But I'm saying
it happened before.
it did.
Hundreds of thousands of people.
It
thought
did,
that they
but
were robbed,
recently.
Russian collusion.
But what I'm saying is, it's because people don't trust. There's a lack of trust, and that is the tinder that can cause a lot of bad things to happen. And that's why I'm nervous about November, because when people, whatever your views are on anything, if we can't agree on the facts, if we can't trust the journalists, if we don't believe what people are saying, and we think that votes are getting tampered with, or there's things going on in closed doors and everything, that's the problem. That is the problem. The problem is not people burning stuff down in 2016, that didn't get reported. The problem is not people marching on the Capitol. The problem is, why in the hell do all these people feel this way? Because for every single person that was there in 2016 burning stuff, and for every person that was there on January 6th, there's 1,000 other people across the country, probably 10,000 other people across the country that feel exactly like them. And that is the thing we need to figure out. We need to fix that, because it's going to happen. We're in this cycle now.
Powder keg.
We're sitting on a powder keg, man. I mean,
But Mike, what's going to fix that, though?
What?
A match?
The match?
No, the Disinformation Governance Board.
Exactly. I'm so glad they came out with it. Right? Don't you just trust them so much? I mean, you talk about tone deafness. I mean, seriously, these people aren't interested in leading. They're interested in having power. It's so obvious. You know a leader when you see them, and these people are not leading. They're not interested in leading.
Oh, come on, man.
Yeah, I think it's all insidious. I don't think they want us to have trust in the media. I don't think. Yeah, I think there's I'm a conspiracy theorist who follows all these food factories getting mysteriously burnt down all over the country, and farmers, saying that their crops are not going to be growing because fertilizer prices have skyrocketed.
Tell me about the food factories burning. I don't know anything about this.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there was. I I don't know the number off the top of my
Per
head,
diem.
but I want to say there were 20 to 40 major food supply factories that got burnt down, all within a very short period of time. And I just had noticed this because I was kind of digging into a deep thread online of somebody who was talking to multiple farmers who were saying the price of fertilizer has gone up like 7 times and they can't afford to fertilize their crops. So, you know, wheat is going to be 20% of what it's been. And this is all stuff that about a year from now, we're supposed to be feeling. And again, you know, the number one farm owner in the world is Mr. Gates, who wants us to eat bugs and stuff like that.
What's
So
the theory though? Is the theory that the farmers themselves are setting them on fire, or is somebody an outsider?
to me, it seems like someone inside the government or a large group inside the government is trying to cause more food shortages. I'm not sure what the end game is.
You want to talk about a way to
That's been
control
going
people,
on for a while, though.
but you want to talk about a way to control people, a lever you can pull. Man, it gets right to the. I mean, no joke, man. I mean, here's the thing. Do you think, Jeff, since I've never heard about this, but is the theory that the people that are doing this are like population reducing people, like they want the population reduced or something like that, or is it like more?
Yeah, I think, I can't help but think a lot of it's tied in with Bill Gates, who's well known to be someone who says we need to massively reduce the world's population.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to change the way people eat. He doesn't want us to eat meat. He doesn't want us to eat. I think wheat is one of the things he doesn't want us to eat. I think it's a way to start controlling that aspect of our lives. And,
I really don't know what to think of Bill Gates. I mean, he's kind of come up as like a boogeyman for a lot of people. I'm not really sure what side to come down on that. I don't know.
I've never gotten over Windows 7, man.
Well, that Vista.
Yeah, whatever it was.
I don't buy into Bill Gates as being a boogeyman. I don't know why.
He is involved.
just-
Why was he
just wait
involved with
6 months.
vaccines? I mean, he's involved with a lot of strange stuff.
He doesn't
Yeah, but when
believe.
you're one of the smartest people on the planet, people are going to ask you questions.
Zeus, here's
No,
an
he's
object
actually
lesson.
involved, not
Yeah,
just talking about it.
And here's an object lesson of what I was talking about earlier about things not being complicated. I don't know about Bill Gates with all the conspiracy stuff. I don't need to, but I do know that like at least half the things I rattled off, he's on record with not agreeing with. So I do have a problem with him with that. He's definitely not interested in, concepts
But
of
again,
Americanism.
it's good to have discourse. He's not
Yeah, but
uncivil,
I'm just saying, but it makes it easy for me because I'm like, oh, okay, that guy's not on board with what I'm on board with.
but
where
here's
did
my
that come
point.
from?
He is not
He's a globalist.
uncivil with his delivery. He's one of the biggest philanthropists in the world.
Mhm.
What?
He likes centralized control. He likes central planning, and those are two big no-nos. 'Cause
That's
they don't
fine.
work.
Epstein's Island
But
too.
he's not. But he's
And he went to
not.
Epstein's Island. Yeah.
But he's not abusive with it as far as
I
his
don't-
public presentation.
Dude, people look, bad guys. I don't need someone to be like, ha 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 ha, right? It's like I don't hate the guy. I mean, peace out, whatever. I'd share a beer with him.
Let's put it
But
this way.
I don't have to
think
like
he's
him
a-
either.
I don't think he's a zealot on any level. I don't think that.
You don't have to be. But I disagree with him.
So we're getting away from words, but I want to get back to Elon Musk, and when he's being attacked and people are calling
Look at
him
that.
a fascist and all these things. And man, the guy has said nothing but all I want is to have basically what we've been saying on the show. I think he listens to us.
I do too.
Certainly.
He wants discourse. Everything he says, man, I'm sold. I'm just sold. He says all the things I want to hear. And that, that could be machinations of a different level. He could be roping us all in, but he's saying all the right things for me, man.
You can judge a lot about someone about who their enemies are, and he's got all the right enemies for me.
Yeah, me too.
Well, and
Hey, boys, I think we've been on for a little
Yeah.
while.
really,
I do
Yeah.
have one
Oh,
last
yeah.
funny thing. One last funny thing. So
What chaps your ass?
no, this isn't chapping any asses. But so this morning, you know that Don Henley song, like I saw a deadhead sticker on the Cadillac.
Yes.
So when I was little, I didn't understand the significance of that line. But as you get older, you're like, oh, okay, I get it now. So this morning, I come downstairs. My daughter's eating Cheerios, and on the back of the Cheerios box that she's reading, she's like, "Who is that? Who is this guy?" And it's Ice-T, man. He's on the Cheerios box, and he's like dancing and stuff like that for like heart health and everything.
Don't hawk anything.
And I was like, Ice-T, that is the deadhead sticker on the Cadillac. Ice-T on my Cheerios box. I mean, seriously, can you imagine being in a time machine and come from like the 80s and see this guy was like, I'm Ice motherfucking T, like cop killer and all that shit. And now he's on my Cheerios box.
The police coming straight from the underground.
I'm getting like whiplash here. I'm like, what's going on? Anyway, I just thought that was funny. I was like, that's it. That's Don Henley. That's what he was talking about.
Have you seen the commercial with him where the cars are driving by and they're like, is that iced tea?
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, lemonade.
No, man, it's lemonade.
Yeah.
Like he's still pulling off the gangster thing, but he's so
Kudos to him, man.
It was a little Snoop Dogg. Snoop Dogg they're like talking about his affair with freaking, what's her name? Went to prison for inside trading. Martha Stewart.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm telling you, the thing that Ice-T has and LL Cool J and all, it's not a mystery. And these people, Betty White, charisma and a good smile will get you through 99% of life's problems, man. Charisma and a good smile. That anyone that has a long career, that's what they got. Anyway.
She had a really long career though, like 100 years.
All right, I guess we've been on a long time, guys.
Yes, we have. I think it might.
We got a tangent alert.
Wrap things up.
It's great. It was great. Again, keep an eye out. I'll be putting it on the Facebook about our event coming up on the 12th. We also have Facebook, YouTube, all those things.
The Twitter machine.
Mm-hmm.
And if somebody wants to reach out to us about that event, the email address is
will be at the end of this episode.
Good.
or it's just Foz at Friends
of Zeus Podcast.com.
Somebody's
got to be able to check that though, because nobody else knows how to. At least I don't.
I'll send the link to you guys. Also,
Bill Gates.
keep an ear out. We are going to be starting up a new podcast with me and some of the girls from a couple episodes ago called the Nurses Are In. I'm really excited about it. I think we're probably going to do it like twice a month. I may have to, I think just for those that are actually watching, the tens of you, I might not be able to be on everyone because it's just a lot, but I think Desiree, who we all met, she's like so geared for this. So I think that
that's great.
She may be more of the protagonist of it, but I'm going to try and get on. And I was thinking it would be a good idea if every once in a while one of us could come on and just be the layman and hear what's going on and ask questions that most people wouldn't ask. I think it's a really good idea. We just got to get it.
Yeah, man.
So Jack, say those words.
I think I already did.
He did.
Say them again, for God's sakes.
Let's go.
All right.
Bye, guys.
Hang it up. Turn the phone on.
Pondering is really quite ferocious. It's when a huckster takes some lies and makes them sound precocious by saying them in Congress or a mainstream outlet. So disinformation's origins are slightly less atrocious. It's how you hide a little lie. It's how you hide a little lie. It's how you hide a little lie. When Rudy Giuliani shared bad intel from Ukraine, or when TikTok influencers say COVID can cause pain, they're laundering disinfo and we really should take note and not support their lies with our wallet, voice or vote. Oh, information laundering is really quite ferocious. It's when a huckster takes some lies and makes them sound precocious by saying them in Congress or a mainstream outlet. So disinformation's origin seems slightly less atrocious.